Okay, today we're going to talk about the zero power property. Yesterday we talked about negative exponents. Now we're going to talk about a zero exponent. In your calculator, if you were to punch these in, you are going to find a pattern. 3 to the 0 is equal to 1. 5 to the 0 is equal to 1. And if I hit negative 2 to the 0, that would end up equaling a negative 1. If you ended up trying to formulate your own rule, well, in your mind you'd say, okay, anything to the 0 power is 1. Here, we just kind of box it off. 2 to the 0 is 1, and then you bring down the negative. That brings us to our rule. The zero exponent property, zero power property states that anything to the 0 power is 1. That's plain and simple. Anything to the 0 power is 1. So if I had x to the 0 power, that would equal 1. If I had 3 times a to the 0, that would equal, I can box off this 0 power. The 0 power turns into 1, so that's 3 times 1, which is 3. Some more examples. Negative 5 to the 0. Again, box off what's has a 0 power. 5 to the 0 is equal to 1. Bring down the negative, so that would turn into negative 1. If we had 4a to the 0, b squared. Box off what has the 0 property. Now when it's 1, it's the same as just canceling it out. So I can just kind of cancel out that a to the 0 because it turns to 1. This turns into 4b squared. We're going to practice with yesterday's stuff, the previous lesson with the negative exponents and 0 together. If I had 3x to the negative 2, y to the 0 power, and I'd ask you to simplify that. So we got a couple things going on here. We got y to the 0, guess what happens? Cancels out because y to the 0 is 1. And then I have this negative exponent. Well, the negative exponent needs to get moved so it can turn positive. So this turns into 3 over x squared. Recall when you move it, the exponent turns positive. Okay, that's why we moved it. You can't make it negative still. If I had a to the third, b to the negative 2 over c to the third. Simplifying that, although it doesn't have any zeros, that's okay. You should be looking, identify where the negative exponent is. We have b to the negative 2. That's the only thing that's moving. So this turns into a cubed over b squared c cubed. I put the b first because it's good math etiquette to put the first letter in the alphabet first. And that's simplified. Now, if I had 13 to the 0, y to the negative 6, z to the 4th, over 4 to the 0, x to the negative 3. And I said simplify that. It looks very, very ugly. But knowing this property, the 0 property, I know anything to the 0 power is 1, which tells me that I can actually really just cancel them out. That's really what I can do, is just kind of cancel them out. So 13 to the 0 power just kind of cancels out. 4 to the 0 power cancels out. Now I can box off my negative exponents, and those are the only thing that's going to move. X to the negative 3 is moving up. Y to the negative 6 is moving down. Rewrite it. I have x cubed, z to the 4th, all over y to the 6th. And I am fully simplified now because I have positive exponents. All right, we're going to do one more example. let's say I had 5 to the 0, x to the negative 3, y to the 0, z to the negative 9. And I wanted you to simplify that. Well, anything to the 0 power is 1, which is also known as cancel out. Now I got x cubed and z to the negative 9. I need to move them. There's nowhere to move them, so I make a spot to move them. Right down. I make a bottom for them to go to. So this turns into 1 over x cubed z to the 9. I do want to do one more example with you. If I had a negative x to the 0, y to the 4, z to the negative 2, and I said to simplify that. Well, the first thing we do, x to the 0 kind of cancels out, but you still have that negative. The only thing that's canceling out is the power in the exponent. And then I have my z to the negative 2. I need to have a bottom for it to go to. This turns into negative y to the 4th all over z squared. So my purpose to do this example is that this negative does not cancel out. The only way that negative would cancel out is if I had something like this. Negative 3, see how that's in parentheses? That means this whole thing to the 0 power, which would be 1. But if I had negative 3 to the 0, it's kind of, I can't say that that negative goes with it. That breaks it up into 3 to the 0 and negative comes down. Okay, so there is a difference, a huge, huge difference. So be very careful for that. And I think that's plenty of examples for you to do your assigned problems.